Listen, I'm a Scream fan. It was just amazing to me 11 years later to basically see, go into a theater and see frickin' Ghostface up on the screen again with that, what's his name, the guy who does the music, Marco Beltrami or something like that. Sorry, Marco, for butchering that. With that music going again and stuff like that. And it was just like, I'm young again. And it was just like, it was a total teleportation back to, basically early 2000 or something like that when I saw 3. It was just the weirdest thing. And what I was so worried about is that they were going to change Ghostface or something like that. There were all kinds of images floating around. Remember that?
Yeah.
While the movie was being made of the Scarecrow version, and I think there was at
They
least
were all
another
apparently
one.
in deleted scenes, from
Okay.
what I hear,
Okay.
in the barn house scene.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, that would have worked good, I guess, in
Yeah.
the barnhouse scene.
Yeah.
But I thought it was so, as the movie was progressing and being made, and there was this talk and this and that, I thought, you know what, don't change the costume. I think that would be such a huge statement, because it's kind of like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You don't have to alter the costume. I thought a lot of the scenes, like in part 1 and especially also part 2, a lot of the Kevin Williamson scenes were very clever in the way, I guess I don't know how I'd say it, but like when Sarah Michelle Gellar gets the phone call, and she's got the phone that's not a cell phone, but it's one that's connected to a radio thing in the house, and she's outside of the house and can't talk to the people. I don't know if it's a police or campus security or something like that. So she has to step back into the house. These kind of logistical, really cool things that he would bring to basically an event horror kind of a sequence or set piece, that's what I call them. I thought was so great and hadn't really been done in the horror genre before. And I thought that it was it was instantly recognizable in the first Scream for me, and it was such a Kevin Williamson thing. And then he did it again in part 2, and I thought that there was obviously he didn't have anything to do with the third one, but you could tell that someone was trying to do those. And in part 4, I really didn't, except for the closet thing, which I guess isn't really a spoiler. I just say closet scene. I didn't really feel like there was too much of that. This probably isn't really a spoiler either, just saying parking ramp.
Yeah.
I thought was that scene, that set piece was very anticlimactic for me. And it was just like, it was just like everyone on the movie was just tired that day or those days that they were filming that scene, and Wes was just like, that's good. I can see him saying, that's good enough.
That was one of the scenes they went back and reshot originally. So.
How do you imagine that? That's the scene in the movie that I think is weak, is a reshoot.
That's the better.
That's the better version.
There is one thing that I do want to talk about, and that's Sydney's character. The character, as you see in the first movie, is she's kind of breaking, but she's trying to hold it together. And I think her character's evolution throughout the course of the series is terrific, because in the first one you get her where she's sort of the unwanted victim because of what happened to her mother, and she's getting thrown into it again a year later. But she's trying madly to hold herself together, and in the sequel they build upon that. She's far more broken than she was in the first one, but she's fighting so hard to hold it together. And what Mickey does to her at the end of that movie, the way he just completely brutalizes everything that she stood for, completely shatters her, and you see what she becomes in Scream 3, which is that recluse that's hiding. Nobody knows where to find her. And I thought that at the end of that movie, the best, one of the best shots that Wes came up with was when you see her throwing open the gates as if she's I'm free.
Yeah, because at the beginning of her introduction to that movie, she walked in, shut the gate, set the alarm.
Yeah, she finally feels free, and then even as the very last shot of the movie is the door swinging open, and she just looks at it and she's like, you know what, I'm fine, there's nothing to fear anymore, and she walks out. So in the fourth one, she wrote a book about how to beat your fear, how to beat your inner ghost, your inner demons. And throughout the entire movie, she carries that. She doesn't become the victim anymore, and she when she's facing the killer, she faces him down, or her down. And it's really, really striking how they didn't let her break again. She never becomes the victim, even when she is getting victimized at the end of the movie. You never see her become the victim. She's always the better of the two. she's always stronger, and she knows it. And I thought that was so strong and such a way to really go out with her character.
Yeah, one thing you really, I mean, 3 isn't a complete waste, let's face it. I mean, one thing that you got to give 3, credit for is, if nothing else, continuing the Sidney kind of Prescott story, which I think it does rather well, like you're saying. And I thought that, I have to agree totally with the end of part 3, which is just like, to have that kind of artistry, cinema, filmmaking in a horror movie, where she walks away from the door and she sees it creak open, and then she just, I don't know if she walks out of the shot or just cuts to black. Does she walk out before it cuts to black? But it's just like, oh man, there's the end, and it's just like, it was such a great statement in part 3.
Yeah.
So ultimately, yeah, like I say, it's been so long since I've seen, 3 months or something since I've seen it. So, but I loved how it looked. It looked great. It looked like a Scream movie. Oh, well, let's comment real quick on the beginning with the opening. 3, 3, which is like really kind of. What did you think about that?
I thought that was really good. I was in the first 3 minutes, I was just like, this is so awful. Oh my God, what happened?
Because it was intentionally stupid.
Yeah,
because you're watching Stab.
Yeah,
whatever,
the gag is that you're watching Stab 5, and it's supposed to be bad. And I was like, wow, they got me. I completely fell into it, and from there they had me for the rest of the movie. I knew what I was going to be watching. It was going to be a self-referential horror film, much like the first one, but they were even commenting on themselves. And then the ultimate point of all of those scenes in the beginning were to be like, yeah, they recognize that they have problems. The Scream movies themselves are not perfect. They have problems. But shut up and watch it. It just doesn't matter. You're there to see a horror movie. Watch the horror movie.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really, really, really clever how they did that.
Starage.
I'd give it 3.5, as I said.
3.5. I'd probably go with 3. I thought that, I think we talked about it before, right after I saw it, is that it's, with part 2, I don't, comparing it to 2, it's kind of like equal, and it's definitely better than 3 for me. And
It's definitely better.
Obviously, 1 for both of us happens to be the best.
Yeah.
And,
It's about as good as 2.
Yeah, I'd say just about as good as 2. So
I think 2 has it just because of the longevity I've spent with the movie, but also the climax of 2 I thought was a little better.
yeah,
I think filmically the climax of 4 is better, but just in terms of my emotional gut response to the end of 2, that one I liked it better.
so there we go. That's our review, actually, on, I guess, all 4 Screams in a way.
Basically,
that's our
yeah.
Scream kind of franchise as it stands now in 2011 review. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll catch you later.
And if you haven't seen it, see the first one at the very least.
Well, yeah, if you haven't seen them, see the first one.
Yeah.
And then you might as well see the second one, and I don't know.
Just
Just
go
watch
on
the
with it.
third one, I guess. You might as well just see all 4, in the
What's the
winter.
worst that could happen? You hate
Yeah.
the movies.
Yeah. That was a pretty...
We're stupid.
Anyway, let's try to end for real. I'm Nate, and he's...
Matt.
And we're out of here. Catch you later.